We're gonna go with a dat2 sop. And this is gonna be points. And we're gonna go connect every 4 points. But this one we want to be like blue. Seems to be not connecting. That's probably too trippy fractal kind of looking for this, but like, or 180 degrees, or 0 degrees, or 270 degrees. And there we are. There you have it. 3 UI interface kind of component-y things. All right. We are in Touchdesigner again, as we often are. So today we're working on some user interface ideas, futuristic UI type things, and in 3D. So this is just one that I made already. I'm working on a project that needs these cool like interactive interfaces. They can be driven by data. They can be driven by just random algorithms. And so I'm just going to start building out a bunch of these, and I'm going to build them sort of like modularly. So we're going to jump out of here and start building. So here is our template. I'm going to start jumping in here alone. And I'll work on the first idea, which is going to be some kind of, wait, let me just move my chat, which is going to be a sort of complex UI. I had this idea of basically a bunch of cubes being connected and moving randomly. So I'm going to start out just building the basic look, and that's going to be determined by a grid, and we'll make it mesh with quads, 20 rows, 20 columns. Maybe we'll go down to 15 rows, 15 columns. Convert this to a chop with a SOP2 because I know I'm going to want to be working with this data. And then build up a quick little render network. There's a rectangle. This is going to be our cubes into a transform. Into a geometry. And then we'll get a camera. And we'll just use a constant mat for now. I might want to change this later if I'm doing any kind of thing with like 3D, just to get more edges and stuff with shading and stuff. But right now we're just going to build it out in 2D. All right, so there's our cube. We're going to reference this for our width and our height. Probably going to work in chops for this. When you're instancing, you can use SOPs or chops or anything really. Let me just check that. Restream is connected. Yeah, okay, we're good. Let me bring that back up. All right, so when you're instancing, you can work in SOPs or chops or tops. And I'm going to work in chops today because it's going to be the easiest way to manipulate the kind of data I want to. And it's a bit slower than working in tops. Like you can't have as many instances, but I don't need an insane number of instances. So I'm just going to put this into our, actually, I'm going to rename this first so that we keep this all organized. Pos. This is going to be pos position. And chuck that in there. And we're going to have TX. Oh, not RX, TX, Y, and TZ. And now we've just got one big cube in the center there, which we don't want. One square, rather. One big square in the center there. And so I want to make this larger, this grid larger. Should break up eventually, yeah. All right, but I do want like a bit of space around the edges, so I'm going to make it that. And then I'm going to scale these down even more so we can see the individual cubes. Whoop. Let's go even smaller, 0.5. Okay. So this is going to be our base starting point for the cubes. I'm going to leave these down here for a second. And then we want to move these around. I'm going to put this up here. So one thing we might do is work out how to start moving these randomly. So I want a bunch of them to be randomly selected and then randomly moved. So I'm gonna take, I might do this in 3 groups too. So I want them to be moved out of the center where they are. So I'm gonna take a sort. And I'm gonna randomly sort them by channel indices, and we'll just go 0. So this keeps them all together, so they're randomly sorted. Okay, so 3 trims. And we want to select random amounts of these cubes. So I don't want all of them to move out. So I'm going to work on, let's just work on I'm just going to set these. So 0 to 10, this is going to be 11 to, start at 11, 11 to 20, and this is going to be 21 to 30. And then I'm going to go into a transform XYZ, I think. And we're just going to scale them randomly. So let's just merge these all together again. Oh, and then I got to get the rest to the end. So this is going to be the stable ones. So how many samples have I got here? In here actually, 0 to 220, 224. So this end is going to be 224, and this start is going to be 30, 31. And I don't need to merge them. What I need to do is I need to join one chop after the other. Zoom, dim, dim, and him. 225, 225, and put down a null and chuck this into the position. Let me move this all over so it's all neat. Okay, so now we've got these trims and transforms affecting things. So let me just play with these transforms. So let me get the scale, and if I scale, yeah, that's having exactly the sort of effect that I was wanting. So I can scale that lot. I can scale this lot. And then I can scale this third lot. So now let's get that happening randomly. So I'm going to have like a random trigger happening. So I'm just going to put down a really easy version of a random trigger. So a noise, time sliced this with noise. And, oh no, not a noise into a noise. We need a logic. So this just generates sort of random triggers. I'm going to rename this to trigger. and slow this noise down a bit. Period, something like 10. Maybe half that, 5. So now we're going to have a few things. We're going to have, we want to select different areas of trims here. And there was just going to be a maximum. So I'm going to put down a pattern. So these patterns are going to determine how many each of these select. So there's going to be a random non-repeating integers, the length of 1. I can delete that because I'm going to copy this. So let's say these are each 0 to 100. And so we've got 2 of these. Oop. We're going to collapse these, I think. So we're going to put in a null. So this trigger is going to feed into there, and it's going to decide how many of these cubes to select each time. I'm going to collapse these guys and call this cube selector. So if we wire this up to the randomize button, each time this goes off, we're going to get a random new number. First thing we're going to do, we're going to put in a math. Add these together. We might need 3 actually. But I'm not sure we want all of the points getting. Alright, so this will generate 3. And then, okay, alright. So I'm just thinking in my head. So we'll just combine these chops with add. So this is going to be, these are going to be each of the values. And I don't know the easiest way to do this. I wonder if we, let's build it in there. So we're gonna I'm gonna have a rename. Well, first we'll start with a constant. Well, the constant, actually, no, we don't need to start with a constant because this is always going to start at 0. And so we're going to rename this to end1. End1. And let's go end underscore 1. How about that? End1. And then, so this is going to be the end of the first trim. Trim 1, end, which is 10 currently, is going to be this. Then copy this, put in a math, add 1. So this is going to be start underscore 2. And then we're going to add these 2 together. This plus this is equal to this. So another rename. This is going to be end underscore 2. And then copy this path again. Plug this in. And we're going to call this start 3. Start 3. So this is going to be this plus 1. Start 3 is that plus 1. And this, and now we're going to set the maximum. And I think the end 3 is always going to be a constant. End 3 is going to be a constant of 200. And it's always going to be, let's say 201. And then we'll go to the merge all these together. So end 1, start 2, end 2, start 3, end 3. Go to an out. Change this so I can export it. So this one is always going to be 202 to 224. And then these are each going to be start 1 and end 1. Chill. Start 2 and end 2. Start 3 and end 3. And we've got our grid back. Not super exciting, but it will be cool once we start using these. And then this one I can translate down and then scale up. So yeah, if we just scale these, move them around. And so we've got to set random parameters for that. And I think I want this all to be on a grid. So we want to put in a quantize. So if I put down a limit, and go to quantize here. I wonder if we can set this. So if we set this uniform scale 0.05, and then our quantize should be round and 0.1. Is that gonna? Oh, that's too much. 0.05 gives us that kind of a grid, which is sort of cool. But then what happens if we go like translate? I guess this is sort of having the effect that I want it to. But I also feel like this grid, maybe if I just change it to 2. Oh no, that's different. 2.1, all right. There, then we get all the same. And now if I transform this, you get that nice, like, I don't know, I think I actually liked it better at maybe 1.9. happens if we leave it at 2? Oh, it's because these are sort of weird numbers. We'll leave it at 2.02 there, 2.06. And then if I translate one of these, there's sort of like a weird glitch thing happening. But I think it's actually sort of cool. So let's set up this. Let's build another one of these. And this is going to be random transform. And this is going to be like full random. I just got to get how far I can go. So this translate, do you have one? Yeah. No. All right. That's probably the max I want to translate. Minus 0.9. And then, so we're going to get noise. It's going to be full random. And we're going to translate, so on TX, TY, and then we'll go, I think we'll just go 1 for scale. So we'll do scale in a different noise. And we'll do this as scale. I think it's either going to we're going to do switch between, we're going to select a random switch between 0, 1 for scale. So the scale is going to be, let me reset this. Transform is going to be 0. So it's only going to either scale or, all right, so that's going to be our maximum 1.9. So 1.9, and then our minimum is going to be something like 0.3. 0.3 to 1.9. Math. So the minimum is going to be 0.3, max is going to be 1.9. So it's going to be minus 1 to 1 to 0.3 to 1.9. And we decided that 0 to 1, actually we can just do it in the noise here. Amplitude is going to be 0.9. Chuck in the merge. And then a hold. And then this is going to trigger the hold. And then we need 3 of these. Because there's 3 of these. Oh yeah, we got to do the switch. So we're actually not going to do this here. We're going to do 1 hold there. And then 1 hold there. and then a final noise. We've got to randomize these seeds. Call this type. And then we're going to go with a switch. Oh, we need a third hold. Put in a limit. Clamp this 0. Actually, we'll do a quantize with the ceiling. The value step's going to be 1. So this is going to be 0 to 1. It's going to switch between these two. Actually, it's going to do it a different way. We're going to do a constant. Snap that. Set these to 0. 2 switches. And then another constant called S with a value of 1. And this is going to be the index there, and this is going to be the index there. And then we merge. So yeah, like building this kind of stuff might seem a bit tedious, but in the end, you get like the final result that you can reuse over and over again, which is really nice. So now it's just alternating, but I wonder if we need 2 holds and 2 noises, and then send them to random. Oh, but we don't want them to both be on at the same time. All right, we'll just do this. We'll just switch the inputs. So this is going to be on when that one's off. And it's going to randomly select it each time. So we're not quite finished this, but I'm going to pull this little null out here and start doing the transform and scale. Tx, Ty, and then the scale for both of these. And since we've got that limit there, these are exactly next to each other. Nice. And after this limit, we're going to put a little filter. And we're going to go filter per sample. So now it's going to move sort of smoothly to wherever we're going. Nice. I think we're going to set up some different triggers here for each of these instead of just having the one constant trigger. So I'm going to pull this little setup here. And this is going to go in here. I like them all except for these like tiny transform ones. Like, I'm not sure if that's actually that cool. Do a different seed. And then we also want to probably have another switch at the end here. And another constant. Snap again to get the channels. And this final switch, we're going to have another one of these noise holds things. Because we want to decide, because there's going to be 3 of these, we want to have each one decide whether it goes or not, either switching between the natural position or the changed position. I mean, this is already looking pretty interesting. And I think it'll look very interesting once we get all of the 3 in. So this is just one of them. Change the seed on this. And then this is going to be in this switch. So this is going to decrease the amount that this one's triggering now, but it's going to pull it back in. But then we're just going to copy this whole thing 3 times. There we are. Now we have, ooh. That's interesting. I think we could have this moving faster. Let's put this period to 2. And then in these random selectors, we can increase the periods on these maybe to 3. And this one can be 4. And that one can stay as 5. I think I might want to change a few of these ratios. I want this trim one only has 24 that will ever stay the same. And I think that's a little too few. That's sort of cool. So now we just end up adding layers on top of this. So I want to do one where we start making, well, first of all, let's just like, let's have like a little red box that goes around the whole thing. So I'm going to take this pos. Actually, we're going to put a null here. and move this all along again. And this can go back there. So this null is going to act as like the end. I'm going to call this one, collapse this. We can call this selector trail. So we're going to do a similar thing that we did before. We're going to sort. And this time we're going to go, we'll go increasing values by channel indices 0. So now it's sorting by the X channel. And then we go into a trim. And this is going to be like the trail length. So we're going to go absolute, and let's say there's a trail length of 8. So now I've got 8 new positions. I'm going to put in a shift. Is that what I'm looking for? Yeah. And so this has this scroll offset. Ooh. I don't want that. I need to change this to, I need to put an extend in. So the extend is going to be cycle and cycle. And see, now it just repeats when I shift this scroll offset. It just keeps cycling through the channel, which is great. And so we're going to put this to abs time. That's probably too slow. Say 7, 38, all right. Times 1. Faster. Okay. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to put this to the output. No, that's not the output. That's out. And we're going to call another null called pos. I always get a little excited and type the name before. I'm going to call this pos1. Copy this over. And let's make some changes. So this is going to be so this is what we've got here. That's interesting. But we don't want it to look like that. We want to put in a wireframe. This is going to be the material. Go topology wireframe so we get squares. And then we need to transform this up to, let's say, 0.1. Okay. That's not really what I want. I think part of the reason is, let's just wait, first of all I'm going to make this red so we can see it easier. And then make it thicker. And so first of all, if we get rid of this shift, let's yeah, see now that's starting to look a little cooler. But see, I want them to move, right? Like, this is only gonna... So I'm gonna put in a count. See, because this is not what we want. We get rid of this scroll offset. We want this moving like... so that it like goes through more slowly like that. So I'm gonna put in a pattern. No, an LFO. LFO with a pulse wave and then just a count. And a null. And we increase the frequency of this a bit. Sort of less cool than I thought it would be. Maybe if I make these squares bigger, would that be cooler? What if I make these 0.2? Definitely not 0.2. What about 0.15? So now they're going like right to the edge of... All right, well, when they're in the grid pattern, it looks good. Problem is it's jumping around too much. I wonder if we want like a bunch of just random ones, and then we get the scroll offset. How would I do that? Because it doesn't seem to work when they're all like in the same. I wonder if I change this sort to the 1. All right, new idea. I want to make some cubes that we'll make some blue cubes. I want to select 4 random points, and if I select any 4 random points, will that make a cube? I think so. So I'm going to do that. Put in a null. And collapse selected. We're going to call this cube vertices. So I'm just going to test this. Once again, we're going to do this sort thing. Sort random by channel indices 0. Okay. And so if we sort these randomly and then select a random 4 points, we should be able to make a cube. And then we should be able to make multiple cubes by selecting groups of 4 random points. So let's jump in with a trim again. Using lots of trims today. And we're gonna go absolute again, and it's going to be 4. Oh, actually, there's a super easy way to do this, but let's just test the concept first. We want to go... This is a bit of a silly way of doing things, but if you go to change this to a DAT, then you go with a... Why is that 5 samples? We're gonna go with a DAT to SOP. And this is gonna be points. And we're gonna go connect every 4 points. See, this is the issue. Just selecting a random 4 points, which is fine. Let me start rendering this. Do an out here. And into another geo with another wireframe. But this one we want to be like blue. How often do I stream? Sorry, what's your name? I can't really see my chat. Wheels theme. I try to stream as much as possible. It's sort of ending up being like once or twice a week. But it depends on how much work I have going on. I'm trying to get like a schedule together and do it more regularly on like a common time. But I just have so many projects right now that becomes hard. So yeah, that's the kind of situation we got. All right, this is sort of cool. I like this. This little thing here. And we can end up like randomizing this. But I do sort of want to make sure that it's a cube. And I don't really know how to do that. Like it would be best if I could detect points that are on a grid. Also, what I can do here is do like end 1632, like 63. And then we've got, well, that's probably too many. Let's try like 31 maybe. I just want to, so you can actually see the individual 4 shapes. Alright, that's sort of cool. I wonder if we want to add like Z axis to this. Maybe even less. Let's go 15. So then we should have, because these are connecting in groups of 4. And then we can keep triggering random different ones to maybe I'll make this a bit bigger. I can put this in 3 dimensions. That could be fun. So if I just start in this random transform, it's like, ugh, this is so ugly. But if I add these noise channels, if I add TZ here, I'm going to have to do a slightly more things. Wait, noise here. now I've got to hook it up to here. Okay, so we should have Z transformations happening. And then if we add them in here. Oh, I added them there already. They're here? Yep. Are we in 3 dimensions already? You're not in 3 dimensions. Maybe you are. Can't really tell. Let me open the geometry viewer. Nope. Oh yeah, there we are. I'm gonna leave that one for now, start on a new one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave it running in the background, so until I've got something running on the next one, because people like to see shit happening. But I'll put it behind me. How about that? Can go there. It's behind my head. All right, let's think of another one. I sort of want to do some kind of like plotting, like a graph plotter. So maybe we'll start off with we'll do this one a little bit differently than last time. Start off with a box. And then I'm going to subdivide this box. So we've got this like lattice kind of a shape. Maybe increase that to 9 by 9 by 9. That should be a good basis for things. And we'll start off with this as our basic geometry. So, oh, nice, mate. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, definitely come back. I'm trying to stream more, so hopefully it's just more a matter of just like integrating it into the projects that I'm having. So I appreciate you being here. All right. This is going into a geometry. And then this is gonna be a camera. Just gonna build a quick little a pattern. So if you get a sine wave and a cosine wave, you get a circle. And so I'm gonna merge these. Gonna call this TX. And this is gonna be TZ. This is just to move the camera around. So I'm gonna have a render. And we're gonna go 1920 by 1920. There's our little lattice thing. I'm gonna put in a constant mat. I'm gonna bring down the alpha. What? Oh, yeah. We need to turn blending transparency on. There we are. And so our camera is going to rotate around this. We need a null. So this null is going to be what the camera looks at. So I drag it over here, go to the param look at. And then So now the camera's always going to look at this center spot, and then I can move it around this circle that I've generated. So I'm going to put in a lookup. And then an LFO. I'm going to change this to ramp. So this is just going to look up the... Oops, I have these in the wrong spots. So this has got to go in there. That's the channel. And then this is tracing a circle in space, but it's moving too fast. So it's probably moving too slow, but we'll adjust it. So a null at the end here. Camera movement, I always end up building from scratch, which I don't know is the best way to do it, because it seems to me like I should have a system built where I can already, because I often end up doing this, like rotating the camera around. All right, so now you can see we've got this kind of a look. I can get rid of this now. Everybody's ADHD will be used by this. So instead of creating a circle, you use channels. Yeah, I tend to use channels for translation. This is like you could do it with the path. But when I want to do like interactive cameras, like I often end up wanting to go into like chop space with the camera. So that's why I'll use channels like this, because it's quick. And if I want to start making it interactive or generative, it seems a bit easier to me. So I'm just going to increase our anti-aliasing here, because it's looking a bit aliasy. And so if I increase the amplitude of these, we can zoom out a bit. Amplitude is going to go something like that. Let's say 3.5. Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, yeah, for complex shapes, definitely. But like also, if you want to make it interactive, if you want to like use a Xbox controller, if you want to do any of those kind of things, then it's definitely a lot easier. All right, I've gone too far out here. Okay. Cool. Now, I sort of want this lattice to only be not the most like important part of it. So this is probably going to be a lot lower. I want to add another grid. So let me add a grid. So the grid is going to be like the base. And that's going to be, so I'm going to add this to the ZX plane. And this is going to be 3 by, what did I do, 9 by 9? This has got to be the same thing. Yeah, division's 9 by 9. So this rows and column is going to be 9 by 9. And I'm going to go to another geo. And then a constant material for this too. Why can't I see you? I should be able to see this geo in my render, but I cannot. Is it because of this being in the way? Oh, do I have to turn blending transparency on? This is weird. Oh, wait, it's up there. I see. it's right in the center. I didn't want it there. I want it down at the base. So the center is going to be minus 0.5. That's where I wanted it to be. Okay, cool. All right. I don't think I like the solid look. I think I'm going to go for more... Oh, hello. Hey, what's up?
I got sushi for dinner.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
I already got it. It was lunch special.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to change this to wireframe. We might even subdivide this double as much as the other one. Because, so if we go 18 by 18, yeah, I think that looks cooler. So you've got like the lattice up top, and then let's just add like a, what are we going to add? Like maybe one of the corners has a solid arm. So like if we add a line, we want it to be right on one of these corners. So it's going to be negative 0.5, negative 0.5, negative 0.5. And then this is going to be negative 0.5, then 0.5, then negative 0.5. And another geo. And we can use this wireframe for that too. So now I've got one of these that's like thicker. I'm going to thicken these all up a bit. There we are. That's nice. And so now we want to put like something interesting in there, like points moving through, maybe like scanners, something like that. So let's just generate some curves and then we'll see where we go with those. So the first idea I have is having just like a pretty simple curve. So if we have a noise, this will just generate some nice noise curves for us that we can transform and have around. So sparse noise is good, I think. Amplitude, let's put it down a little bit, 0.8. And then we'll transform abs time.seconds. So now it's animated noise. And the channels TX, TY, TZ. And let's just put in a null. And then we want a chop to sop. Whoop. And now we've got like a twisty curve. A twisty curve. Plug this into a geo. And we've got to assign a material to it. So I'm going to put another constant down. And there, we've got our twisty curve. And this is going like way out of the range. We're gonna want it to be amplitude of 0.5, then it'll stay in. How can I close the curve? That's a good question. Close the curve. Can I do it on here? I know I can definitely do it with DATs. One sample to each point. Compute normals, compute tangents. Let me just undo that. I know I can do it if I do this. If I go chop to... So now we've got it as a dat, all those points. Then we go a dat to sop. Make this the points dat, and then if we connect all points, this is... I don't think this is going to work. This is going to create like a... Well, it closed the curve, but then if we use a wireframe... not that. A wireframe mat. It's got those ugly things. Oh, maybe you don't think they're ugly. That's an interesting structure for sure. Oh yeah, if I do unclosed U. Oh, but then we don't have the closed points. Oh, actually, I know an easier way to do it. Yeah, it does sort of look nice with the jittery mesh. Or you can do it like a solid mesh like that. Or even that. That looks cool. That looks super cool. I like that. But wait. If I go... I think the actual way to do this would be to take a trim. Then I'm going to select absolute. So this is selecting the very first sample. So I'm just going to take the first sample and put it at the end. And then go with like a join. A join? Yeah. So this one, then that one. And if I plug this back in to there, I should have a closed it's a closed loop. Yeah. Except one of the lines is just going to be a bit straight, I think. The last join is going to be straight. But that's like the fully closed loop. So yeah. But I like this. This is sort of cool. And if there are any other options that look cool. Mesh with n rows. Mesh with n columns. Particles. Connect all points. Jittery mesh. Can do connect every 4 points, make like a other kind of a thing. That's cool for now. And I can guess you could like have some just like I think I can increase the amplitude here, something like that. Though it's going to go outside the bounds like this. What I could do is I can decrease the amplitude again, but then I can increase the exponent so that like pulls it all into the center, and then you can pull it out to the sides too. What might also be cool is, let's leave that. Maybe it's just too much on the exponent there. Leave it like that. Maybe turn on blending. Something that might be cool is if we had like a random selection of, actually, can I put in a switch? I just feel like having it just like randomly switch between a bunch of different options with a thing could be cool. Though the single circle curve looks a bit boring now, doesn't it? Switch back to this guy. So once again, you're just gonna keep like adding elements. That'd be cool. So what I can do is I can add, let me put in a null. I'm going to call this great and create quads. So now if we sort this randomly, also you can try different noise types on here, like there are so many different noise options. Brownian noise. Random noise. Alligator noise. The sparse is good for this option. Alright, so sort these randomly by random and then channel into CU1 or 0. Doesn't really matter what you put in there. It's just so it doesn't sort like random like it sorts one channel randomly and keeps all the values constant over the other channels instead of sorting them all randomly. And then put in a trim. And then let's say 8 points. Make this absolute. So now I got 8 random points selected. And we don't need that. We can go with like a, we'll do this same trick again. We'll go with a chop 2. I should have put a null in first. And then a dat2. Change this to connect all points. Go to the out. Go into a geo. So now I've got these like planes in. I do want these to be wireframes though. Now we can't see anything, but if we make these red, and I wonder if we don't want to do it this way. Thicken these guys up. Oh, not that much. Blending on. If we switch back to... So you can see each one of these points is getting connected to all of the other ones. Which is maybe not what we want. If we go something like... well, let's do what we did before. Close the loop out with this trim and then join. trim and join. And then we go chop 2. That might be a bit better. And if we put a filter in here, no, after the trim, filter per sample. Then we can like randomize this sort, and it's going to go move between these different points. So let's just do that with noise, then a logic / this, noise to logic to count, quick and dirty to null, make this noise happen a bit slower. That's sort of cool. Seems to be not connecting. Maybe it is. There's lots of look options there. I wonder if I can instance some points up this line. So let's just change this line to like 100 points. And then we put in another line. And I think we're going to want it to point diagonally inward, so it's going to be 0, 0, 0. And to point diagonally, we want it to be, it's going to want diagonal, not on the y-axis. It's going to be on, so 0.5 on the x. Oh no, it's going to have to be a lot smaller. 0.1 on the x-axis, 0.1 on the z-axis. It's a little diagonal line, perfect. Put this into a geo. And turn instancing on. This is going to be the translate up. Okay. How'd that turn out? We need a constant. And so these are too big. Or do we make them always look at the camera? So these are going to be like 0, 1. That looks cool. We can make these, oh, we need like actually no, we need wireframe. Because wireframe, I can delete this constant. Wireframe, let's just thicken these guys up. Oh yeah, all right, so we want to speed. All right, so this is just going to take the random vector we generated and propagate it across our area. So then we're going to put a limit on this speed. Yeah, exactly is right. And make it zigzag between minus 0.5 and 0.5. Okay. So now we've got, well, let's just visualize this with like a cube. See, now it sort of bounces off the edges. That's really funny. It's not as cool an effect as I had hoped. Okay, so let's turn this into like a cross shape. So I want to rotate this 90 degrees in that on the x-axis. And then I'm going to rotate this one 90 degrees around the x-axis, I guess. There we are. Now we've got a cross. And what's also cool about this is I can get random new vectors whenever I feel like. So something that might be cool is having this this little cross thing, which I think is a bit small, to be honest. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Maybe 0.2 by 0.2. That's too much. 1.5 by 1.5. So it's just bouncing around on its own. But what we could do is we could take a slope and so you can see if we add all these values together, put in a math first. So now we're detecting every time it hits the wall. And also if I hit this, you get random so let me just So I'm going to combine these channels by adding them together. And then we're going to do a logic. And we're going to change this to on when value changed. Oh, that's a little too much. So I'm going to put in a limit. See, it's firing like crazy right now, which is not really what I want. I want it to, let's go around and let's go 0.1. See, now, all right, so now it's, we're getting a thing every time it hits a wall, a little flash. So I'm going to use this to leave like trails behind, and so I want a trigger. So this is just like an ADSR envelope. It's going to trigger an envelope, but I really only want it to hold. It's just going to be an envelope that holds for a certain amount of time. And we're going to say like 0.8 of a second. It's probably going to be too much. I'm going to go 0.5 seconds. And then we're going to put in a trail. And this trail is going to trail this thing, but it's only going to be active when it has these big shifts in velocity. So what I'm doing is like I'm measuring the velocity and then calculating when I've got big shifts in the velocity, and then that is activating this to include those points. So you can see. So if I then hook this into the position, you get these. So that's cool, sort of cool. I want to add a bit more variation because this is just going like not very interestingly. Also, if I change this seed like randomly, it's gonna, in midair, it's not gonna, actually, and I can make this a bit. No, that works actually. So I'm just going to do another logic and count type deal. What was I going to put in? Noise. Not a null. Noise. Time slice it. Go into the logic. Go into a count. And so this is going to change the random vector at the start. We can make this maybe happen a little less. And we should also join, we've lost our main guy. So this and this. Yeah, no, I do record all of these, and I probably usually put them up on my YouTube channel. So you should be able to check that out, Chaz. I appreciate you hanging out. All right, so this is a bit cooler. All right, it's much better with the thing in. So we might later, mate. We might also have this rotate. So if I have another one of these, I'm going to use this logic, actually this trigger. This trigger is going to change the seed of this. So I'm going to count this trigger. And this is going to change the seed of this noise, and this noise is going to control our rotation. This is going to go into another speed, because I don't like how it's obviously a very regular pattern right now, but what we want is a much more random pattern than that. And so this noise amplitude is going to be like 90, because these are rotations, so they're 0 to 360. So I'm going to put in a merge these two. I got to rename this. This is going to be RX, RY, RZ. Going to put this into the join and into the trail. And now it's got to activate it here in our instances. I can get rid of these triangles. We don't want these triangles anymore. X and Z. All right. I feel like they could be probably even more rotation. So if I change these noise amplitude to 180, it's getting into like a really regular pattern there. I don't know how useful this is as like a UI. I mean, I guess it's sort of cool, but like oh, sorry. Ashel, I didn't see you say activate gravity. Yeah, I can activate gravity in the box, but it takes a lot to do that. I might decrease the amplitude of this a little bit. I don't know if I really, because gravity, I need to put in a whole like bullet solver system and get that up and running, which is a lot. These kind of like number displays are very cool. I wonder if there's a way to get like rotating. Yeah, let's make like something like this, but with a bunch of numbers in it, and a bunch of rotating elements, like line elements. So I'm just going to get like a noise and a pattern. And once again, for the millionth time, we're going to call this trigger. Then we're going to jump in and time slice it again. And then logic that again. Be smaller. Length of 1. Random non-repeating integers between 0 and 100. So this is going to be like, I don't know, a speed readout or something like that. Trigger. So this is going to be like the main part of the noise. So I'm going to put in a text. And then we need to change this to a DAT. So chop 2. And then we drag this to the DAT. Get rid of where it says derivative. All right, let's make this 1920. 1920. So we can make this hugely bigger. And let's pick a better font. Oh my god. I have so many fonts on this damn computer. It's gonna break me to find the one that I want. But let's do something like Roboto. Have I got a Roboto one here? Roboto black. Yeah, that's good. Actually, it's too thick. Roboto medium. That's much better. And I was a bit of an idiot by linking this directly to the patterns because we really want a null here in case I want to make changes, and I do want to make changes because I want this number, instead of just like randomly switching around, to filter. Oh, and those floating points are so ugly. All right, we need to limit. Round to a value step of 1. There we are. So this can happen less often. And this filter can take longer. So now we want like things around this, like little lines that display different values, and we're going to like trigger them. I can get rid of this now. I'm going to trigger them based on like these values. So the first thing we want is just like a really simple line. Actually, we're not even going to do it like that. We're going to add a rectangle. Just like this. We're just going to set resolution only, because I'm going to want this line to do other things with. And now if we scale it, we want this, the offset, the pivot to be... Oh, actually, I don't know if I like what I've done with this line now, because I want a nice like line that goes up and down. But it's always going to grow out from the center. So what if I make the center 0.5? Oh god. Center 0.25. Now when I go to the transform, when I scale it, yeah, it goes down like that. Okay, that's better. So let's take a math. And the math, we're going to change 0 to 100 to 0 to 1. And this transform. And another transform to take this back to the center. Now it's a bit of a dumb way of doing things, but... Oh, and we want this to move down a bit. Okay, it's only a little bit, but let's add some other lines. And these are just going to be random positioned lines. Actually, let's just get our final null here. Okay, so this rectangle, I'm just going to place it sort of wherever I want. 0.5, maybe 0.4. And every time, let's put that down there, I think. Every time we trigger, we're going to generate a new position for this line. So let's go to noise. going to be tx and ty. And I want to think about how these lines are going to move around, because I don't sort of want, like, I only want it moving up and down. Okay, so there's going to be 2 of these. And one of them is going to be vertical, one of them is going to be horizontal. So this one's going to be another one that's 0.3 to 0.01. And the center is going to be 0 and 0. So we're going to composite all of these together. You and you change this to over. Let's move this up a bit. Or across a bit. So, what I'm eventually going to want to do is I'm going to put in a feedback. So I'll just show you this step because this is what's going to make it look really interesting. And this is going to go into a feedback loop. We're going to make this 32-bit float. And we're going to have a transform in the feedback loop, then a level in the feedback loop. We're going to make a little fractal thing here. So this transform, we're going to go tile is going to be mirror, or it could be repeat actually. We're going to scale everything down a little bit. So now we've got that. We can translate this level. So now we have this bring this up to bring in more copies. But yeah, obviously we're starting to build out this interface. And we might just want a rectangle here. Composite is going to be multiply. And then we're going to invert. So the background color is going to be white. Background alpha is going to be full. Fill alpha is going to be 0. And then we want to soften this like that. And then we can bring the size down. Okay, that's nice. So obviously we don't want this all competing with the number. And then we can also like rotate these by 90 degrees or by 45 degrees. That's probably too trippy fractal kind of looking for this, but like, or 180 degrees, or 0 degrees, or 270 degrees. And we're getting different variations of this like UI from the feedback loop. And what we can also do is make these 3D, which would be super easy. But I also want these little bars to move around as well as I'm doing this. So this logic, I want there to be some delays after it. And these delays like gonna be 1 second. And these are gonna control aspects. So first thing we wanna do is, because this scale controls a lot of aspects. So we can go from 0.7 to say 0.95. 0.96. So noise. So this is gonna be, I'm gonna rename this so I can remember what these all are. Rename. And this is going to be feedback. And so we're going to have TX, TY, and then R, and then S. So I got to select R, because R we're going to do some math to. Zero to one is going to be, no, -1 to 1 is going to be negative 180 to 180. Then we want to limit, because I don't want this. Don't want this doing like the sideways things. So this is going to be quantize is going to be ceiling. Value steps are going to be 90. That's making some strange behavior. Ah, yeah, because this is not, we need to disconnect that. Change this to be one sample. Oh, yeah, I didn't mean to change the sample rate. One sample, 0 to 0. This is going to go into a count. This is going to change the seed. And then we need to select the scale. And do a math. This time we don't need a limit. So it's going to be -1 to 1 is going to be in the range of 0.7 to 0.96. And then we're just going to select the T's. Just T star. And then we're going to merge all these. Put a null at the end. And this is going to control all the aspects of our feedback loop here. So we've got our TX, our TY, our scale, both scales, and our rotation. And this is probably making too many generative copies, so we're just going to jump in here and reduce the level so it can only make so many versions. And then sometimes it'll only make very limited versions. There we are. That's looking nice. Okay, so now we want to move these little lines around. So I'm gonna put in, this all is gonna be collapsed. I'm gonna call this feedback. The cool thing about this too is we'll be able to set the resolutions so that it just like, it does any kind of resolution we want. So this delay, you can have a 0.5 second delay on this one, and then a 2-second delay on the second one. So we're gonna rename this to shape 1. And once again, let's go collapse into shape controls. All right, we can copy some of this over. So you can probably copy all of this over. Delay, and then count, and then merge. Ooh, not that. And then we change this count 1 to be shape 1. But we multiply it by some random number, because I don't want the same noises having different noises having the same thing. So for this shape, we want to control the TX and the TY. We don't want the rotation, but we do want the scale. So we can just get rid of this scale channel. I mean the rotation channel. Because there's always going to be, what I'm saying is there's always going to be a negative and a positive, a horizontal and a vertical line. And I want them to change at different times. And then I want them to move on whichever axis they're on. Axis. rather. So yeah, we can get rid of this. And let me just see the controls that we're going to have. Disconnect that. So this is going to be our shape one. So it's this is our like horizontal shape. Let's position it at the center. 0, 0. And its size is going to be 0.3 to... Ooh. Oh, that's cool. Maybe that's something we enable, that we can change the thicknesses of these. Thicknesses. Let's just leave it for now. So the size is going to be 0.05 to, I think, 0.5 is the longest we're going to want it to be. So scale 0.05 to 0. What did I say, 5? How big is 0.6? We can go up to 0.6. 0.05 to 0.6. So that's the random scale. I do also want to select the TX and the TY separately. So it's going to have a new... So this is a horizontal shape. So it's center... Wait, let's just get these. Center... So negative 0.5 to 0.5. So it's TX, I want it to move slowly, but it's TY, it's going to jump. So TX, put in a math. Wait, just got to multiply it by 0.5. And then this is going to be the TY. Ooh, disconnect that. Connect that in there. And so the TX, I also want to put a filter. And it can be like 3 seconds. So we've got the size, the TX, and the TY. I think that's all we need. Put in and out. So the size is going to be there. The TY is there. And the TX, oop, wrong way around. TY, there. TX is there. All right, so now it moves, it jumps, and then it moves. It jumps, and then it moves. Cool. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And so now I can easily just copy this over. This. So we should have multiple synced events happening as soon as this value changes. I wonder if they should all be equidistant. Yeah, it seems a little bit random to me. I feel like it should be like dit, 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 dit. Let's make it do that. So we just go adjust these delays. So the feedback, what delay are you on? 1. So we'll go 0.5. If I just change this to be 1.5 instead of 2. 1.5. See, that's better. It's like everything occurs in like a synced motion. We also might want to put a... I don't think I want to put a threshold. Maybe I do. I want to put a threshold and multiply it. So if I put in a threshold, that's going to make everything... Because I don't like it fading away to infinity, you know? It's like... It's not very UI. It would be like... There are like maybe a couple of levels of it, but then I need to multiply. So I'm going to take a threshold. So this is going to say how far into the background it goes. And now you see everything is solid. But then I'm just going to multiply that by what we've got currently. And we'll just get a nice cleaner exit. Well, that's still not that clean, right? So we've got to bring the threshold up a bit. Like that. I think that's working nicely. Maybe it takes a little too long for that. We should change these around. So this shape, this filter should be 2 and box. And this one should be Gaussian and 3. Gaussian box is basically a straight line. Gaussian, it eases in and eases out. I have to get like the colors. Like I assume this would look good with colors too. Like if we made this one like orange. Are you going to do orange and teal? Yeah, orange and teal. Make this a bit more teal. Then we add like, I don't know, like a blur to the whole thing. Do a blur, like a big blur, and then like add an even bigger blur probably. There we are. That is a futuristic sci-fi UI if I ever saw one. I wonder if I even make the... I'm getting sick of that that filter taking so long on the... I don't think we need this filter. But it'd be cool to have like a bit more constant motion going. So I wonder, this is shape 2. I wonder if this one's the soonest one. Yeah, 0.5 second delay. So I wonder if this is even longer. And then its size change is also on a long filter. So like the orange one is like gonna be constantly changing size. Maybe 5 seconds in box. Yeah, that's cool. I'm seeing a bit of... Is there black coming through here? Oh, the black's probably coming from these edges getting cut off. But I actually don't think that's a big deal, because I just had to make sure that it's actually black, not transparency, because transparency is no good. Can probably even level down this a little. Little less bright, because you're blowing it out basically anyway. Is that aliasing? Not really. So let's get them all together. I always forget to do this for like, this will be good for like making thumbnails and shit too, because where's this final one? I never remember to make like good thumbnails. And there we are. There you have it. 3 UI interface kind of component-y things. I think this is where I got to end it for today, because it's getting late and I've got shit to do. But thank you all for joining in. It's been great. I will probably edit this recording down and upload it at some time for all of you to play around with. And yeah, thanks for joining in. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.